Everyone, thank you for joining us today. This is Rick Murphy with AllNet. I want to thank you again for joining us on such short notice. We've got Domenico from Domotz who's going to be introducing the Domotz platform and discussing it. He's got a presentation, and he's also going to do a live demo here shortly. So the archive link, this session is being recorded, and the link will be sent to all participants to share with your colleagues and staff members who could not attend the live session. Also, the video will be posted on the AllNet Distributing YouTube channel, and we would invite you all to browse our archived webinars, and please consider subscribing to our channel. Everyone is invited to subscribe, friend, and follow our feeds on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And also, this is a community participation event, so please feel free to post your questions in the chat box, and we will read them at the end of the presentation. And at the very end, we will unmute if anyone has any questions that aren't addressed in the Q&A. So without any further ado, here is Domenico from Domotz discussing the Domotz system. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the intro. Yeah, so my name is Domenico Crapanzano. I'm the CEO at Domotz, and I have with me also Seth on the US sales side, Seth Rubenstein, and Violet and Ava on the marketing side. We'll go through a quick presentation just to cover the main concepts, then spend 15-20 minutes actually going through a live demo of the system, which I think is the best way to experience it. And then I'm going to leave the floor to questions. We usually get a lot of questions and interest, so I want to leave plenty of time for that. First of all, just a little bit of introduction on who we are. The company is a little over 2 years old. We have around 40, exactly about 43 full-time employees, and I would say almost 2/3 are on the development side. We started in London, but we now have office in both UK and the US. We are present mostly in San Francisco, and a sales office in Atlanta. And our development is mostly done, well, both in London, but it's mostly done out of Italy, in Pisa and Rome. Two very nice places if you ever want to visit us over there. We have two products, two main products. One is what we call B2B, so where we sell to businesses. And this is Domotz Pro. It's a platform which we're discussing today for allowing system integrators to deliver remote support to their clients. And we have another product that is also used by integrators, but is used by a lot of consumers as well, which is an application called Thing. Thing is a network scanner on mobile phones, extremely popular. We get about 30,000 downloads every day. We do 1 million scans every day. And we've had about 20 million people that have downloaded this thing since it came out. So the Thing, some of the Thing capabilities are actually built in Domotz Pro, although it does everything. Just to get an idea how, our footprint, we have over, on the Domotz Pro side, we have over 1,500 dealers that have signed up to our program. We are present in well over 10,000 sites around the world. About 60% of these are actually in the US. And we start signing up partners on both the vendor manufacturing side as well as a number of other industries. The product that we're discussing here is Domotz Pro. Is composed of two elements, a hardware and a software solution. Essentially, we need a piece of hardware that is sitting in the remote location and running 24/7. For this one, we offer our own hardware, which is called Domotz Box, which is obviously available for sale through AllNet. And we also offer other software-only solution. So our software can be run also on things like QNAP, Netgear, Synology, and a Raspberry Pi, and essentially any Linux machine can run our software. There's actually two two elements of the software. There is a dealer-facing application, which is called Domotz Pro, and there is actually a customer-facing application, which is called Violet. I'll go more into details in a few minutes. How it works is pretty simple. I mean, our system is excellent for monitoring any remote location where you do not have an established, a fixed infrastructure or a VPN in place. So what you do, you drop the agent, the Domotz box, or whatever is running the Domotz software on. You drop it in the home. The software essentially runs a scan every 30 seconds and builds connectivity to the cloud. And from the cloud, you are able to access that information and access the actual devices. So essentially, the box runs as a gateway to allow cloud connectivity into the property, into the remote property. Again, a couple more words on the box. It resells. I mean, it's $150 retail. It resells to wholesale at $105. There's no limit on the number of devices it can monitor, and it's a pretty fast machine actually inside in terms of specs. It's also got 1 gigabit Ethernet port, so I can monitor internet connectivity up to a gig. As I mentioned, we have in the 2 years we've been in business already established a number of partnerships. The two most famous ones are actually one with Best Buy, which uses our Domotz Pro platform to deliver remote support for their Magnolia business. So basically, where the Magnolia puts in an installation with service, there's a Domotz Pro behind powering that. The other partnership has been, which has been really working well for us, has been with Luxol, whereby we are working with them to provide better integration into their systems, to the point that we will be coming out embedded in one of the routers, the 4500, later this month or in April. We also have a number of other manufacturers which we've been partnering with. Crestron and Lutron are two of the ones where we have specific functionality that we're building for them. For example, in Crestron, as you will see, we CrestNet. But again, we work with a number of vendors, so we're a little bit the Switzerland of home automation in a sense. We are on a pretty. We do have a bunch of people in-house, so we don't outsource pretty much anything, and we push out features quite fast. I mean, we have a development schedule. We follow what is called agile methodology of software development. And we push out features every 2 weeks. There's something new coming out. So there's always something coming out. Maybe it's not what you want, but somebody's always happy every 2 weeks as new stuff gets added onto the system. Just an overview of what Domotz Pro does for an integrator. On the monitoring side, it allows visibility and proactive notification of what is in the home, in the remote location, and whether it's still working or it goes offline. It integrates into a number of IP-based PDUs, so integrated solutions on and off. It allows connectivity via the cloud to any device. We'll show some of that soon. So it lets you essentially be in that remote location without physically being present. It has a number of features around network diagnostics to help you get a sense of what the experience that the user is having on site. I mentioned the customer-facing app, which is something that again we offer our dealers the opportunity to engage their customer with an application that's built for the customer. We integrate in the major automation systems. Right now, it's Control 4 and Crestron, but there's more coming soon. And the other one that I'd like to mention is the alerting, whereby essentially we provide notification, and we try to be pretty smart about it, try not to overwhelm. So we focus on reducing the number of false positives for our users. I did mention a couple of times the Violet app. Essentially, this is an added value that an integrator can provide to their client, and they can skin it with their branding. We launched this in November. We're actually pushing a second version out by May on the back of feedback that we have received from a few hundred people. The Valid app does things for the customer that are useful for the customers. First of all, it allows the customer to reboot things on their own if they want to, without calling the integrator. It provides, right now, a pretty crude form of parental control, but we're getting a little more sophisticated, so it should become a full-fledged parental control feature. And then it allows, well, two more things. One is reporting of problems. It helps the customer reach out to the integrator in case there is any issue. And finally, it provides network security. So it lets the consumer know who is on their home network, essentially, which we believe is something it's kind of unique, especially when the whole world of cybersecurity is getting a lot of hype. Again, this is something that we offer right now. It's included in the subscription. It's something that we offer to the dealer for them to offer to their own client. I mentioned that we support remote power action on IP-enabled PDUs. This is just a list. I'm not sure it's actually the full list, but it gives you a good idea how we cover pretty much the universe of most of the relevant PDUs out there. We also cover SnapIV and Walkbox products. We cover package. We basically cover, I believe, as far as the CDS space is concerned, we cover pretty much everything that there is to cover. If something is missing, it takes about a week or two once we get our hands on the actual hardware to integrate it into the platform, so it's not a particularly complicated process. One of the features that we have developed is automatic port mapping, whereby a user doesn't have to do anything, but we kind of locate where devices are hooked up, in which ports or which switches, and we measure also power consumption, and we allow the rebooting also of the PoE-enabled switches. And these are the, again, we support the majority of switches out there that are used in the CDS space, from the Cisco, the Luxul, to Ubiquiti, very popular, and of course Arachnis and Package and Planet. Again, like I said before, it takes a couple of weeks to add more of the switches. So we have a three-man integration team that is focusing on integrating new hardware and vendors. I mentioned about the automation gateways. We have specific specific tiles for both Crestron and Control 4. On the Crestron side, we display all CrestNet devices, and we allow rebooting of the CrestNet devices. On the Control 4 tile, we allow visibility over all the Zigbee devices, and I'll show an example of that in the live demo. Some of the things that we're just pushing out, either that have just come out or about to come out, we introduced the concept of SNMP sensors, whereby we now essentially can allow you to monitor any variable that a system spits out, whether it's temperature, CPU, memory. As long as it's on SNMP, we can pick it up and read it and then turn it into a rule. This is based on custom IDs. We are adding soon a functionality called templates, where essentially users can create templates so they can have, it's going to make the SNMP functionality a lot easier to use, because you don't have to specify everything all the time. You just specify a template and then you assign templates to devices, or you can almost automatically assign templates to devices. One of the features we recently introduced, which has been extremely popular, has been that of manufacturer support. Our first vendor was Luxul, but we're adding about a dozen of them in the next couple of months. Next 2 or 3 are coming on board actually in the next month. For the manufacturers that enable support through our system, essentially the benefit you get is you're able to share a customer network with your manufacturer, not just the device, but the entire network for a troubleshooting session. And this gives whoever is helping you visibility over the whole network, which makes it much easier to provide help if you have an understanding of everything that is going on in that network. And essentially opens up a support session that lasts an hour and simplifies the support process from the manufacturing side. Another feature that's coming soon is the integration with D-Tools. Anybody who has a D-Tools specification for a job, it can save even more time by exporting or syncing all the names and locations and the blueprinting of the network with whatever has been built already in their D-Tools project. So this saves a lot of time on the setup side. We're aiming to release this in April of this year. And to kind of sum it up is, why dealers end up using us. I summarize, the two reasons why 99% of the people use us is both to save money and to make money. And those things can happen at the same time. I mean, the saving of money is our system is extremely cheap. I mean, our software we charge $3 a month for the service per site without any limitation on the number of devices or VLANs that are monitored for that specific site, which means that for $36 you can access that site from the comfort of your office at any time. And frankly, it costs a couple $100 just to send somebody over. And so at $36, you are buying yourself an insurance policy, which you're going to exercise pretty much in every job out there. So a number of dealers just becomes part of their process because it helps them deliver a better service and better product and actually spend less time for what they would have to do anyway. A number of dealers also embrace the solution and turn into a profit center by creating a recurring revenue services on it. Once you can scale maintenance and organize it, then it's easier to charge a monthly service and to define a set of services that you can deliver to your clients. And in this sense, things like the Violet app and the reporting, all things that we provide you so that you can make more visible and more valuable the services that you provide and for which you charge for to your client. In general, the system is the goal of the system is to build awareness and to build proactive prevention. I mean, you get to know what's happening in that site even before the client often notices, and therefore you become more intelligent and in your ability to solve problems. And the whole point is to deliver a better customer experience. I kind of mentioned partnerships already. I believe we have a number of assets on our website to kind of help out, both case studies and other onboarding sessions, and we have a lot of material and marketing assets that we can that you can use. Check it out. And I think now, unless somebody has any questions, I would actually we'll leave the question for a minute. I would just like to go into a session on the live demo, just a quick one. What you get here is the dashboard where you get to see all your sites and whether anything is offline or the site has lost connectivity. You get a sense of any device that's kind of offline or it needs attention. Once you get on the site, you get an immediate overview of how many devices are on that site, how many are actually being active. And we tag devices, you can tag devices as important, which means that you have immediate visibility whether everything that should be online is actually indeed online. As I was saying, the first feature of the system is awareness of what is online and offline. Thanks also to the Thing service behind, the system does a pretty good job in automatically identifying devices for you, but then you can customize it with names and locations. One of the unique things about us is that we are very much user-centric and device-centric rather than network-centric. So, for example, if you want to know, what's happening with your Apple TV, you get onto the Apple TV site and then on the TV tab, and from here you can do a number of things. You can reboot the device. It's attached to a PDU, but you have to remember, which PDU did I attach this to, or which plug is it hooked up into. We bring this information to the user, and also you get immediate visibility of where that device is connected. So, for example, this Apple TV is connected to switch number 1. In port 13, we can see if it's losing packet, if it's handshaking at the right speed of 100 megabit, or if it's something looks odd, it would show up here. And if you were to move, this is done automatically. So if this Apple TV, you had to move it from port 13 to port 17, this would change with it, and you would automatically get updated. So the system is smart enough to tell you where stuff is hooked up. You get on your switch, you have a visibility of everything that's attached to that switch. Again, you don't have to do anything. The system does it all automatically after you have identified all devices. You are able to switch power on, well, see if anything is consuming power, switch power on and off on any device. If you actually need to get onto that switch, so this is functionality that we bring out of I said about 10 different brands of switches. If you actually want to get inside that switch, this is, for example, a Cisco switch. What you can do is you can actually go into the connectivity page and establish a connection to this device. So what I've just done now is I've used the cloud to get access to a Cisco switch that is not cloud enabled, essentially. So I have, thanks to my gateway, got inside that property without doing any configuration, and I can access now this interface. It's not just I cannot just forward web pages, but I'll give you an example. Let's say this is an amplifier from Marantz in the playroom. I press connect. I get in here, and I am connecting to my Marantz amplifier. Again, this amplifier is not cloud connected, but all of a sudden it's accessible through the cloud. It's not just HTTP. We also allow you to get access to other protocols. For example, I have again, it's a Cisco router here. My house in London, so I'm quite familiar with it. So if I want to, the system automatically discovers what port what means of communication are available to this device. So it sees there is a port on Telnet available. So what I can do is I can get in here and I can establish an SSH or Telnet session to that device. So once I'm here, I am again essentially hooking up to this router without needing any VPN. So I have full access to whatever it is that I need to do. Finally, we also are porting RDP. So again, let's say there's a Windows machine. In this property, I have a Windows domain controller, a Windows server, and what I can do is I can establish an RDP session. So I get in here and I have access to my Windows server from the system. So that's as far as connectivity goes. Other functionality, relevant functionality in here is, let's go through network diagnostics. There is a speed test that gets run in the background every 6 hours. Can be disabled. We have a number of customers that have either metered connections or boats or remote places, so they can turn this thing off. We monitor latency, and we're actually about to put alerts on the latency, which would be a good indicator of something that may be going wrong with connectivity. You get alerted whether, whenever a device, well, not just when devices go down, but you can configure, but also when you have connectivity. I mean, we use connectivity to entire agent, or there's a new device that is being introduced, and this is very useful when the initial setup phase, when you are putting new stuff. We kind of mentioned the manufacturer support. So in here, for example, I can initiate a support session with Luxo by enabling this. So I'm giving access to Luxo, again, for a limited time frame, access to this site for a troubleshooting session. I mentioned the Zigbee monitoring. So I have visibility over, there's a control 4 system in here. I have visibility over all the Zigbee devices, and as long as they're reporting the status, their their strength of the signal, the battery, and whatever information is being reported. I have similar access to Crestron with there's a CrestNet specific file. I can generate reports. So we generate 30 days report on work activity and uptime, and which is useful as values will be provided. And also we log any activity that gets done by the dealer. So you can say, hey, look, I've logged into your machines, I've rebooted this, I've done that. Everything gets automatically logged into the system, and then again, this generates a report where you can show the activity that's been performed on that system. I think I probably went a little fast, but maybe I'll leave it to questions. If anybody has anything specific that they want me to address that I may have not covered, I would be happy to answer questions.
Okay, Domenico, this is Rick. So we did have a question come through. One of the questions that came through is how are you addressing security to provide a defense from botnets, malware, et cetera, from coming in through these devices?
Well, I mean, this is a cloud service. We run penetration tests onto our infrastructure. As I said, one of the biggest customers that we have is Best Buy. That I mean, the target is. I mean, they only started in October, but the target is putting 10,000 of these things a year out there on the maintenance side, and it's a big organization, and they're quite paranoid about security. So they can be of any comfort. They do their plenty due diligence on us and trying to break things and get inside in order to be able to sleep at night, because they have as a big corporation, much bigger potential ability than anybody else out there. So we have our security principles, which I'm happy to share. The little document. We run penetration testing. We actually have cyber insurance ourselves in case of anything ever had to go south. We also are introducing two-factor authentication. This is mostly from a privacy perspective more than security, because we have some very high valued customers, not valued, high value customers, and we're introducing the two-factor authentication on that as well. Everything is encrypted on our site, on our cloud system. We run our cloud on AWS, which have their own security protocols. I mean, security and privacy, frankly, are the two biggest questions that we get. So we spend quite a bit of time in addressing both of them.
Okay. The next question that comes through, are you able to monitor multi-WAN installations?
Well, what we're doing is we are notifying. We're generating. I mean, this actually isn't going live, but I think it's getting pretty close to being pushed out. So you're gonna get you can enable notification for a change in public IP address, which will tell you if you have a redundant system, if something has gone south, i.e. if the primary is gone off and the secondary is kicked in. If you are doing load balancing and weird stuff, no, we come out as, you know, whatever IP address you're coming out of. So I mean, for that, you probably, if you get to that level, you probably have some solutions that comes from those, you know, specific router manufacturers.
Okay. Could you put a second or a third Domotz Pro in that system if there were a second or third ISP?
I mean, yeah, you can. I mean, if they are both active at the same time, but if you know the Domotz Pro is inside the subnet, so there's no need to put a second one or
oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah. So, but I mean, if you get the notification of change of a public IP address is gonna let you know that something has changed. Well, okay. Likely to have changed.
All right, and then I wanted to ask you to maybe do a little bit more of a deep dive on the Control4 and Crestron integration, because I saw that you looked through your Control4 processor and you were looking at the Zigbee, and I'm assuming those were like your light switches and things like that in your house, and you were looking at the individual nodes. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll show you another place in the States where I have some more stuff here. So here there's a lighting system, so there's a lot more stuff. But yeah, so you are seeing, well, right now you are seeing the status of every Zigbee node, and you know what, if it is actually an endpoint or a routing point, and you basically go into a lot more details if you wanted to know that. I think any integrator actually gets this level of details. We are actually, well, not necessarily we, but a Control4 Domotz driver for Control4 is coming up at some point, I think in May, which is actually going to allow even more functionality and integration into that system. So right now you get full visibility of all the Zigbee nodes and whatever information they broadcast. In May, we're actually going to use the ability to load the Domotz driver inside Control4, which is going to increase the amount of features that you can put into programming and integration into your program. On the Crestron side, let me just think here. No. On my login, I don't have. Let's see. There you go. Well, we only have one device, so not particularly. Yeah, I mean, you won't get blown away by this. We have, and it basically when there is a Crestron controller, you get access to the devices that are inside that the CrestNet right now, and you get to reboot them. We are doing also, it's not shown here, but we have integration into the DM. I believe you can reboot single channels on the DM or the whole DM. So we build, and then actually the work on Crestron integration is evolving. So we're actually, because we have a number of leaders that have put in a bunch of requests, and the company's been quite receptive actually in helping out. So there's going to be more stuff coming up. I'm pretty comfortable. I mean, already I think the ability to do viewing inside the CrestNet. Again, here you only see one device, but hopefully you have more. And the ability to reboot those devices, already, I think it's already a good value, but we're going to provide even more integration to this.
I think it's amazing that you've got the ability, you can look at even like the firmware rev that's on each device, because I'm not going to pick on any particular control manufacturer, but there are control manufacturers that are constantly having pushing forth new firmware and then asking the dealers to go roll it back on certain devices. So that'd be nice to be able to check and see what firmware revs on each device before you roll a truck.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Okay. Got another question that came in regarding the Ethernet switches. Do you require a managed switch to get the monitoring data? What issues would you have if you had a small project that did not have a managed switch?
Well, I mean, as long as the device speaks, we can listen and display information. Clearly SNMP is a nice language to speak because it's very rich and you can pick up a lot of information. If you have an unmanaged switch with zero, control interface, or it doesn't say anything, there's not a lot I can tell you about that switch because other than it's a dumb switch. If it doesn't have an IP address, I cannot even tell of its existence. But what I can, one of the things we're working on is in providing. We actually have this running. Well, it's not in production yet, but we can provide latency to each individual items. So I can tell you if something is 400 milliseconds away from the Domotz box, or 100 milliseconds away, or 7. And I can put that in context of the history. So if your latency is spiked up on that device by 2 standard deviations, it's likely to be to be degraded. Now, if a switch is in the middle and it doesn't broadcast its existence, there's no way that I can pick it up. So really, my ability to display things is dependent on things wanting or being able to be displayed. We scan my MAC address, so anything that has a MAC address, we can view it, and anything that speaks anything, we can listen.
Okay, and then obviously another primary reason to have a managed switch is so you can control everything individually. So if you needed to reboot things remotely, or if there were things that were on the device that were PoE, you could power cycle each PoE port individually?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I think that's it. I think we.
I just want to show one thing which I didn't focus on, which is the team management functionality. So essentially, we priced by location, by agent. We call an agent. And we can have as many support agents looking into that location, and you can manage permissions. So, for example, you under this login, I have 5 properties that are under. I have 5 agents running. And what I can do is I can create a user and say, okay, I want the user to access this side and this side and this side, but not this other side. So we support organizations with small or large. Again, in Magnolia's case, it's an extremely large organization in the U.S., and they have several layers. Actually, there's some functionality that we've activated for them. It's not actually visible here, but could be made available. You're also managing a subscription. We have a concept of credits. So you buy a set of credits, and they go in 50 credits, and then you can assign them to whatever installations that you have in place. So if I want to extend this installation, then I can assign a credit, and it just takes them away. So 1 month of network monitoring is equal to 1 credit. It's 1 credit is $2.99.
Okay. And do you have a moment to go into to show the Violet side of what we could give to maybe a more advanced end user versus what we would want to give to, let's say, like a I don't know, like a customer who had their own support type person, like maybe they've got like a everyone's got a son-in-law or cousin or something who's IT-centric we may want to turn over some small aspect of this control.
This is the application in place right now. Just bear in mind, this is getting, the core is actually the same, but the experience is going to change a little bit. So this is the customer-facing app because to the hands of the customers. It allows them to know who's at home and if there's anything that has showed up that is unknown. Again, so this top section is about network security and potentially physical security as well, because a mobile phone is a proxy of presence. So if you're in holiday mode and you get a mobile phone, we recognize that a MAC address is a mobile phone. Thanks to Think, we have a database of over 6.5 billion devices that we have categorized at a MAC address level. So we can tell, again, that something is a mobile phone. And we can tell that the mobile phone is, has not been there before, or is, it's from somebody that unknown. So this is, again, in this case, this is changing a little bit, but the concept is similar. So we get an idea who's actually is at home right now. So, Vladimir is at home with his laptop and his Tesla. We provide the ability to run speed test for the user. That has an interest in knowing how strong his internet connectivity is, and we enable them to reboot devices by themselves. The way this app is changing in May is that we're going to simplify this customer journey quite a bit and make it accessible to the non-geeky customers. So the app is actually going to get a reskin, show less features, and it's going to be more guided. For example, there's going to be a section on problems. I'm sorry, I wasn't ready for that, so I don't have this here to show you. But there's a section on problems. There's going to be right now, for example, here you're saying the name of this dealer is Diva Electrics, so you can skin this with your own logo. In the new version, the logo is actually in the front page. And when you click on that logo, you say report the problem, and it asks the user, what do you have a problem on? Audio, video, lighting, internet. And then if you press video, it says, okay, which room do you have a problem in? And it says, okay, it's the living room or the kitchen or the master bedroom. And then the user clicks on the master bedroom, choose the master bedroom, it says, okay, these are the 3 devices that are present in the master bedroom. Would you like to reboot, one of them? Instead of showing you a list of 85 devices that are inside the home, it'll also show you the 3 devices that are relevant to his problem at that moment in time. And if the rebooting doesn't work, then the system sends out a support request to the manufacturer, to the dealer, qualified. So this user is not just freaking out; he has the Apple TV that is not working in his master bedroom. So you already know at least what you're dealing with once you get in the support request without much of a conversation. So these are things, as I said, the user experience of this app is changing in some significant ways, but I mean the core in terms of network security. Another thing that we can do here, which I didn't show you, is the parental. But we're introducing the parental control, where you can block these. You can block a device. It's not showing. You can block a device. So we're introducing a whole concept of parental control together with this, which I think is going to be quite popular with users. All these things are, as I said, this next version of this thing is coming out in May, but it's already usable as it is today.
Hey, Domenico, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
This is Seth. It's great to see so many people joined in. I see some familiar names on the list, and thanks again to AllNet for organizing this for us. I'm currently at the ProSource event down in Orlando, but I did want to comment on this. The Violet app, the customizable app, is really a tool of engagement, and it's a means to be present in the minds of your customers as their go-to expert on integrated systems. Giving them various capabilities to do things on their own is really up to you, but our interest is in to facilitate that engagement. So Domotz as a piece of hardware that gets installed, and the monitoring, those are a means to an end as far as offering services, but RMR is not necessarily solely dependent on being able to remote monitor and reboot stuff. It's really in how you package and present and pitch a service offering. And as far as we're concerned, Domotz, we don't want your customer to know who we are. We're certainly not going to take their calls. So we want to do everything we can to divert the attention where it belongs. And if they think that you're the geniuses who came up with all this stuff and this is your wizardry because you're just that amazing with technology, well, you actually are. I mean, we come from you. So we're just a member of the family on the back end who's focused on this particular product category. But it's, we see service plans being sold typically between $10 and $30 a month, but it can be upwards of hundreds of dollars a month or thousands of dollars a year. It just depends on who your core customer is and what sort of packages you want to offer them that involve proactive engagement. The whole idea is that you're interacting with them in ways that make you look A, heroic, B, and super intelligent, and certainly very helpful in guiding them towards being able to navigate all of this great convenience they're bringing into their homes. I just wanted to mention that as it's a frequent topic of discussion. Certainly when I come to events like this and the CEDIA Business Exchange last week, it's always a topic. It's been a topic for the last 20 years. Everybody's been talking about how do we catch up to what the security guys are doing. Now, what we're starting to see is there are certain service providers who are beginning to offer inexpensive 24/7 kind of concierge service, and I don't just mean ones that have been solely focused on our market, although that's fine, but we're starting to see from our vantage point, the IT world take notice, and they've already got infrastructure, and the security realm take notice, and there are going to be more and more options available to take your call using your name, offering first line support so that a human answers the phone, and if it needs to be escalated, the call goes back the next day or whatever. So just keep your eyes and ears out. We're happy to have these discussions. We've got a ton of resources on our site under the Think Tank tab. So you just go to domotz.com and you'll see some slides, you'll see recordings, you'll also see a customizable brochure. But anybody who's interested in having this discussion, it's a totally separate one, but one we're certainly happy to have. So thanks, Rick.
All right, Seth, thank you very much. So before we wrap this up, one of the other things we wanted to talk about was camera monitoring option.
Well, right now, we don't have anything specific on cameras other than status, the fact that you log in to the HTTP port and it's functioning. We can also monitor service ports. It is not just for cameras, but could be also, well, for anything, even a touchpad, for example. So essentially, if you need, there's service running on port, TCP service running on port 5589 and you need to be working, we can monitor that. And if the service goes off, then you get notified. I'm just going through this property where there is a camera in here. So let's see here actually. 1 second. So, and here I'm just, I mean, right now I'm physically connected to that camera, and I get into the configuration page of that camera. It's an access camera. We are talking with some of, oh, there you go. Anyway, so this is, you are in the actual config page of you know, the Wirepath camera. We're talking with some camera manufacturer to actually basically grab an image and bring it back and saying, okay, was there an image or it's being blank? So that's something that, you know, that would have to be integrated on a manufacturer by manufacturer basis. But that integration is possible. Just take a better example. It was not too shiny. Are you looking for particular camera? What particular functionality are you looking for?
Just to make sure that everything's on, to make sure the cameras are, if there's an issue with a camera, if it's a PoE camera, we could reboot it, you know, things like that, and also
yeah, so
that
for example, you know, yeah, so take this, I mean, this is our Mobotics cameras, they're hooked up to a PoE switch, so I get onto the camera, I can see that it's on port 1 of the switch number 1, I can see its function abuse is consuming 3 watts. I can turn it on. I can read cycle power, turn it off. I can, if it's got SNMP, which of course this camera hasn't turned on SNMP, but I can get SNMP variables from that camera. On the alert side, I can specify custom ports that I want to monitor on this camera, whether it's the HTTP port that is up and running, or if it's a custom port. I can specify, you know, whatever port number I want to monitor. So there is I mean, clearly depends on what you know, camera you're looking at, but we have the ability to actually query quite a bit of information. And as a last resort, you can always log into it. So in this one, I'm just getting, just like I did before, I'm getting into the you know, into the mobile camera. I'm logging into it, and you know, have access to the menu. I mean, there's cooler things that we can do. So I can get to the menu. All these activities are actually being logged right now. So the end user is going to get a log of the fact that I've just logged into this camera to do something about an analog I've stayed here. So all this stuff gets logged. Make sense?
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to unmute everyone. If anyone has any questions, feel free to come in and ask.
There you go. And that's kind of how I feel. I don't have to pay for it. We're bringing a new child into the house, so eventually.
Oh, no, I'm not. No, I'm not.
That's
No, I'm not.
about.
No, I'm not.
But
Everyone's muted again. If you, if anyone wants to be unmuted, feel free to unmute yourselves. Okay, that was a bad idea.
Hey, that
okay.
is fantastic example of how we as an industry are constantly mixing our life and our work. If there's anything I can say positive about that, I actually do love hearing stuff like that from you all. So you know, we are very appreciative of AllNet, where we love our relationship with Luxel specifically, and we do plan on coming up and visiting the Chicago area. Would love to connect with any of you. If you plan on attending any events, let us know, and we'll try to arrange getting together. But we want to hear your stories, your questions, anything whatsoever that you heard today, you want to hear more about, you have any questions, you have any suggestions, thoughts and ideas, we welcome it all to support@domotz.com. So if you send a message to support@domotz.com and copy me, you can copy Rick. That way we stay in the loop. But we do like to hear from you. That's how we continuously improve and evolve and change. With the nearly 50 total employees, about 85% of our company is development and engineering, and our release cycles are dizzyingly fast. I've never experienced anything like it, and I've been around a couple of software companies. It's not easy to accomplish. It really speaks to the commitment to the space. And you'll notice we have a down market, so to speak, solution, a DIY sort of option, which helps on the market prep amongst early adopters. We've got relationships with utilities and insurance companies, certainly manufacturers who, by just sort of the sake of their evolution, they don't necessarily have a cloud option right now. I mean, a cloud solution of their own, and so we make a very good partner to a good number of folks. And because we're brand neutral, folks like working with us. So we certainly encourage you to suggest maybe even some meetings or some introductions with vendor partners that you think might make a good fit for us. So thanks again.
Okay, Seth, we had one more question that came in. One of our dealers wants to know if we can expand on the D-Tools integration feature set.
Yeah, we're releasing, again, should be at the end of April, beginning of May, but we are essentially, it's a synchronization. So it's a cloud-to-cloud synchronization. So at the touch of a button, dealer specify a job with D-Tools. When they put a Domotz box in the property, at the touch of a button, they can upload all the connected items that are present in that specification with the name and the room location, and they can sync that information into the live environment. So they don't have to go and say camera in the front bedroom or touch panel in kid's bedroom or whatever it is. They already have all the information. They inherit all the information from what they've already done in D-Tools. So that should make the job of blueprinting of the network, which is the first action that you need to do whenever you put a system like this in place. It becomes a pretty easy and almost, kind of foolproof.
Well, this is a topic that's near and dear to my heart. I spent the first 11 years of my career in this industry with D-Tools, and a constant issue was, what gets sold is definitely not the same thing that ends up getting installed when you're ready to hand the project over to the client. And then over time, the project continues to evolve, or that site continues to evolve. And until this concept of creating a living as-built, the awareness of what's on premise at that site has been, something that you all were blind to. And now it's essentially providing you with this, as Domenico said, not just a blueprint, but a living blueprint. And so as you see devices begin to come in to a customer's install, you might start to think that you're witnessing a change in economic prosperity, and maybe it's time to go back and suggest that they consider a theater package. And things only have to be as creepy as you want them to be. So you don't have to overload people with with what it is that you are observing. Certainly, we want you to make sure that you let folks know that we're certainly not facilitating any visibility of actual content or identifying actual humans. So we're looking at MAC addresses, and that's not an accident, it's not a limitation, it's a self-imposed parameter. We don't want that liability, we don't want you to have that liability. So, you know, it is important to be able to address these types of questions when you're talking to folks, but, you know, being able to see, take care of, and respond to evolving needs is really the key.
Thank you, Seth.
Okay, well, thank you to Seth and Domenico for joining us today, and thank you, everyone. Just as a reminder, if anyone has a CEDIA certification and they're looking to collect some CEUs, all of the AllNet presentations, if you attend the live presentation, you earn 1/2 of a CEU credit toward your renewal. So with that, we're going to end the webinar. Thank you, everyone, for attending.